Good morning, I'm Most Amazing Artist. Today I'm going to show you how to draw a island scene with some dolphins, palm trees, and a sailboat. So I'm starting with my paper turned horizontally. We also call this landscape. It's side to side position for our paper, so we have a lot of space. We're also working on a large piece of paper today so that we have a little more room to include some details like dolphins and sailboats. The first thing we're going to do is start with our pencil. We're going to make a little semicircle line over in this corner of our paper. This is going to be for your island, your little piece of land that your palm tree is going to sit on. And then we're going to give our palm tree trunk that's going to come up. I'm going to have mine kind of lean to the right. Yours could curve in this direction if you want, but I would give it a slight lean whichever way you want it to go. We're just making the base of it, so I'm just going to come. When we think about a tree trunk, usually the base is a little thicker, right? And then it gets a little more narrow as you go towards the top. So I make my first line, and it kind of leans the direction I want my palm tree to go, and then I'm going to come beside it, starting out a little bit thicker, and then I just bring the line in a little skinnier as I move towards the top. And it is overlapping the land, which we did this really lightly with pencils, so we can go back and easily erase any little pieces like that we want to take away the overlapping. We're going to add the palm leaves with our colored pencils when it's time, but for right now, I'm going to give basically the base of each of the leaves. So I don't really know how to explain that, but this is kind of like where the center of my palm tree would be, and then my leaves would come out from this, and I curve these in different directions. And you want to have at least 4, but you could have as many as 5 for your little palm tree branches that stick out. So it's kind of like, I envision almost like a little firecracker bursting out, right? Think about how palm trees kind of, the branches sort of spring out and like lean over. We're going to fill this in later with color to add the texture of the actual leaves. Does this look like leaves right now? No. Does it look like the top of a tree right now? Not really. So what we're doing is just giving kind of the general area that we're going to have it in. It's going to come together and look more like a tree as we go back in with colored pencil. But we want to kind of stake out, this is the space and the area that our palm tree is going to be in. Okay? All right, the next thing we want to do is we want to create a horizon line. The horizon line divides our sky from the land, or in this case, the sea or the water from the sky. So we're going to go across our paper. You're going to find a place. Some people put theirs higher. Some people put theirs lower. I always say on something like this drawing, maybe aim for about the middle. And I'm basically just making a horizontal line that goes across. I'm going to jump over the tree so I don't have to erase inside of that later, but I just give myself a little light line that goes across from one side to the other, all the way from one edge of my paper to the other. Now I know that everything above this line is going to be my sky. Everything below this line is my water or the ground or the earth, okay? All right, you have a couple of options here. Some people like to include a large sun, like a half of a sun, like a semicircle, and then have a little small boat that either sits on the horizon line or anywhere below it. Because remember, you're not going to put your boat above this line. If your boat is above this line, it's like it's floating in the air. So your boat either needs to be right on the line or it needs to be anywhere in this space because this is all the water, right? So some people make their boats smaller, some make them bigger. Typically, if your boat is further away in the background, it's going to be a little bit smaller. And if it's closer to the viewer in the foreground, which is this area of our paper, if you're the viewer, this is what's closer to you. it would be a larger boat. So we all have a opportunity here to make individual choices. It doesn't have to be just like mine. Yours could be a smaller boat. It could be a bigger boat. Yours could be on the line and be kind of small. It could be in this area up here and be fairly large. That's up to you. I do know that I want to also include dolphins on my scene. So I'm going to put my boat kind of right in here. You can also leave space for a sun. Some people like to have their sun in the middle of their paper and then their boat to the side. Some people want their sun over here on the side and they want their boat more in the center. So that's up to you, but just think about the sun and the boat. Where are they both going to go before you start? I'm going to start with my boat, and I'm going to give myself like a slanted line on each end, connect it across for the top of my boat, connect it across for the bottom of my boat. So it's almost like a rectangle, but I lean those two sides out just a little bit. Doesn't have to be super perfect. I'm drawing it really lightly. I'm going to fill this in with a lot of color. And whenever I go back with my colored pencils, I can really create the shape that I want to be more distinct. But right now, I'm just giving myself a basic little outline of where's my boat going to go. My boat's going to have some sails that come up, and I know I'm going to have 3. My first one I'm going to have kind of towards the end, and so I'm going to make like basically a little pole, and it's going to be, a rectangular shape, right? 2 long sides and 2 short sides, and it connects to the top of my boat. This one I make a little shorter. I'm going to make the middle sail a lot taller, so I think about that whenever I'm deciding how far up to bring this. I know that my middle one is going to come a little higher. I'm also going to put a flag on my middle one too, but you could put your flag really anywhere on your boat that you want. If you don't want to include a flag, you don't have to. So I've got my first sail. I'm going to make, it's the pole for the sail. I'm going to make my second one about right here. And like I said, I'm making this one a little taller because I'm going to put my flag coming off of this one. And then I'm going to have a third one that's here on the end. And I like to space mine kind of evenly. So I just kind of guesstimate. I probably would put it about here because that's about the same amount of space between that one. And I'm going to make it about the same height as my first one. But this is kind of up to you about how big. But again, it's just basically 3 rectangles that are going to be kind of like the poles for my sailboat. Our sails are going to look like triangles, and there's going to be some overlapping here. So whichever one you start with, your others are going to kind of be going behind it. So it's not going to be a full triangle. So I'm going to start here with this first one, and I'm going to bring my little triangle out and then bring it back in towards my pole. So it's like a little V shape, right? I want my fabric to look like it's just kind of connected to this pole. So I'm actually going to come in here and draw sort of like a C shape so that it really is like the top of the sail is connected to the pole and the bottom. And this space that's in between here is like my sky. Do you see that? It's like the open space. The sky is showing through. So when I get ready to paint this, whatever my background sky color is, that space right there will be painted like the sky, because this little piece is actually my sail. And I could give some details. Maybe you want your sail to have like stripes, and I could add color to these later. Your stripes could go in any direction. Maybe it's going to have some other little decoration on it. And if you want to think about that and come back to your design for it later, you can. All right, so my second sail is going to start up here. It's going to come down. I'm going to do most of a triangle. I'm not going to worry if it goes behind this one because it's called overlapping. And then I bring the sail back in. When I bring this line back in, sometimes I add a little curve to it. So it's, again, almost like a V shape, but you may not have the corner because it's behind the other sail. And then I'm going to make my little backward C shape that comes up so that the sail is connected to the pole. I hate to make this too dark, but I don't know if you can see it well, so I'll just try to. And then my last little one is going to, again, be a little triangle shape. It's going to come back towards the pole with a backward C. You can make some little lines that kind of come down, like the strings and ropes and things. This one might have a line that goes, I wish I had made the back of my boat wider. This line might come from the back of the boat up to the pole. And we can add some additional details in here in just a minute. Hi.
I think we can just turn that.
Towards.
It'll be smaller on this wall.
Yeah.
So we'll move the TV down a little bit that way. So then we'll have these two.
Have two.
And see
Okay.
if we can make the two work.
Okay. Would there be any way to put something on that, like where that empty space is? Could they either put the TV on that wall? No.
No, because we've already put the power and the data line right there.
And they can't point that one that far, can they? Okay.
No, but I think we can do that. I don't know how. I mean, we can make it better.
I'll try, like, today kind of sitting over in that direction and seeing, like, what I can see from back there.
Well, I think over there, if we put the TV right there, they'll be able to see. And then the people in the back might
see that one? Yeah.
Right.
Thank you.
It's worth a shot.
I know, right? Yep. Anything would help. Thank you. All right, you guys. So the next thing would be the sun. And your sun could go behind the tree. It could be big, it could be small, but I'm basically just making a little semicircle that's above the water. I guess I could edit. All right, and the last thing we have is our dolphins. We're going to make some little dolphins. Okay, so your dolphins can go in this area. You could have one dolphin. You could have two. You could have three. We are not going to draw the tails of the dolphins. I know that just every time I do this, it seems so odd to people, but two reasons for that. Number one, the dolphin tails are really complicated. Number two, this is my water. And I'm not looking at the dolphin under the water. I'm looking at the dolphin as he's coming up and out of the water. So his tail is still under the water. If he was jumping out of the water and into the air, and I was going to have his whole body in the air, he would need to be above the horizon line, right? Yep. Okay. Since he's not, he's just coming up out of the water. So this is all going to be painted like water. And I'm just going to have the curve of my dolphin's body, but it's like he's going back into the water right here, and his tail and everything is under. So I make a line that curves over, kind of like a sad face. And then I hook it back around. So it's got like a curved end. Then I need to bring it back in so it's smaller. And what I think about, you guys, is almost like, this is going to make you laugh, but like an eyebrow.
It looks like a tear.
Or a teardrop, but it's a teardrop that's been squeezed a little right there. It's curved. It's almost like a comma or an apostrophe that's turned sideways. Or again, think about like an eyebrow, okay? On this little dolphin, he needs a little nose, and his nose is going to be kind of round and it sticks off the front. We are going to take away this line once we start adding color. It's all going to kind of blend together. But for now, we're just thinking about the basic shape of the dolphin. We have his little nose. His eye would probably be somewhere in here. He's looking a little like a bird. He needs a curved V shape on his back, right? So this V shape is going to lean, and then it comes back in with a slight curve to it. Yes, ma'am. Last thing I want to go over is the fins at the bottom. You're going to give him two little like V-shaped fins down here. Shape these however you want. You can add a second dolphin.